Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? In these practice streams, I like to share how I practice and what I work on, and I answer some questions from people in the different chats where I'm live streaming. I have all of the prior live streams. There's now 300 of them that you can find in this playlist, and each one of them has timestamps in the description, so you can jump to specific part in the section where I'm working on something or answering a specific question. When I get a question and I go back after the stream and I edit it down into like a more fine-tuned response, and I put them into this playlist that's got like over 9 hours of drumming tips in here. And you can find all of these playlists and literally over 1,000 free exercises at the home tab of my YouTube channel. Just go to the drumming content and click on the header. I also create gaming and computer science stuff, so you don't have to see any of that if you simply click on the header. And then we've got all the technique exercises, the chop exercises, blah, 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 all in playlists. Now, at the top of every one of these playlists is a video that gives a 1 or 2 minute explanation of how to play through each one of the exercises down below, like using the timestamps in the description. Today, I'm going to be working on RCC's MORRISpree, so we're going to try and speed that up. It's currently members first, which just means it's early access. It's going to come out, I think, in 3 weeks, something like that, so stay tuned for it. All of the chop exercises are neatly organized on my website, which is jaredoleary.com/drum. There's 55 of them. There's over 900 grid variations. There's over 55 drum charts. There's a bunch of timing exercises, and I'm working on, I think, like 30 more, something like that, that I'll schedule for release, so stay tuned for that. I should have that out by the end of this week. And then there's over 200 bass exercises. By the end of this week, there will be over 200 technique exercises, and then we got all this stuff here. Now, before I actually get into any of this stuff, I got some good questions that I want to kind of talk over real quick. But before I get into that, we got to get motivated to, drum and teach and all that stuff. Oh, and by the way, if you're curious like what my background is, just go to /CV on my website. So then you can see how long I've been drumming, how long I've been teaching, all that fun stuff. Shia LaBeouf, help motivate me. Let's get ready to drum. Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it. Make your dreams come true. Just do it. Some people dream success. Well, you're going to wake up and work hard at it. Nothing is impossible. You should get to the point where anyone else would quit. And you're not going to stop there. No, what are you waiting for? Do it. Just do it. Yes, you can. Just do it. If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. Yeah, I'm super motivated now. Oh, thank you. Appreciate you, Shia LaBeouf, for stopping in, helping me out, get motivated to drum. Oh, I almost forgot this. Okay, so each one of these streams, I like to kind of share like a quote or something that resonates with me. Hopefully it resonates with you. I forgot to do it the last couple of streams, so where? Today's is actually a kanji. So around my neck, I have a kanji that is kind of a morbid kanji. What it like actually represents physically, like the characters, but the story behind it at least. There's a couple of translations for it in Japanese. So as Michi, the translation for it is road or path, and then as Do, it's way. So like the way of drumming or the way of teaching, or another way of thinking of it is like the art of drumming or the art of teaching or gaming or whatever. And so when I was working on my PhD in music education, I was getting some Japanese lessons, and my teacher actually recommended this as like the kanji I was looking for. It was a reminder to me to stay on my path, to follow my way, to finish the dissertation. And so when I actually finished it, I got a giant tattoo on my side of the kanji because it's something that resonates with me and is a good daily reminder, kind of like this one that's on my forearm. So for you, it's helpful. It might be helpful to think of like, what is your way? What is your do, your way of being? And how does that relate to the things that you are doing or not doing throughout the day? What are you working on and what are you not? Did I find your stuff for beginners? So Good question, Drumaholic. Since you're on Twitch, I think there's like a panel underneath this that says drumming and another one that says drumming. But or gaming, if you click on the one that says drumming, it should take you straight to here. I'm almost positive that's the case on Twitch. Otherwise, the link that's at the very top /drum, that'll take you to there. And that's where you can find it. I'd highly recommend if you are new to drumming, if it's drum kits, you can focus on the charts and you can watch the very first two videos in the playlist there, and that'll help you to like figure out how to develop limb independence with these exercises. But I really recommend focusing on like accent tap exercises or like roll timing or rebound, like the stuff under technique. Speaking of, so one of the questions that I got that was really interesting had to do with like how much time you should spend practicing slow. I've talked for many videos about how important it is to spend a significant amount of your time practicing slow, but exactly how much of it is like 90% of your time? A general framework that I might recommend for you is to spend about 60% of your time slowing things down, and then 30% of your time playing around performance tempo, and then 10% of your time playing faster than you actually can play with proper technique and sound quality and whatnot. Love you. So, what does that look like? So if you're playing one of these exercises, there's like 1,000 of them for free on my website. But when you click on it, a lot of these go down, if they're triplet, to as slow as 40 beats a minute, and the 16th note goes as slow as like 20. Maybe start at 40 beats a minute and just go up one click at a time with these play-alongs and spend about 60% of your practice time working on that. Then if your like performance tempo is like around 120, maybe start at like 110 and spend like 30% of your time working it up to like 120, maybe 125. And then the last 10% of your time, jump even higher than what you're comfortable doing. So maybe go up to 150 and like really try and push your hands to play whatever it is faster. That will train your hands and your brain to play and think faster than you currently can. But just don't spend all of your time doing that. You can end up injuring yourself if you're really tight in your technique and things like that. So focus on playing nice and relaxed, nice and controlled, but really refine the technique by playing slow. And it'll also help you to play more in time, because when you're playing something slow, the space in between each one of the notes is much wider, so you have more room for air. So if you can get it to sound good slow, then it's going to sound significantly better fast. Okay, another question that I got had to do with drumming technique. Let's actually switch to this view so you can see it. I want to make sure I didn't forget these, so there's that. Okay, cool. And let me close that. Hello, how you doing? Oh, thank you for the trophy. Appreciate you. Okay, so I had somebody ask me why I have the index finger just kind of like hanging out right here rather than curved around the stick like this. So the technique that I'm using is called a triangle fulcrum. So it's a 3-part fulcrum. So instead of holding my stick so that I am just doing the thumb and the index finger and then everything else is there for maybe support or speed, I'm actually using an approach that focuses on wrist strokes, power, control, etc. all comes from the wrist with the technique that I'm using. So when I'm playing, I'm intentionally trying to make sure that my wrist is able to be floppy and move up and down. So if you are playing with a fulcrum where you are squeezing the fingers like this, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to actually move your wrist. So if you have nice relaxed hands and you move your wrist like this, then it gets nice and flappy. But as soon as you squeeze the fingers right here, you can't bend your wrist. So as soon as I relax it, suddenly my wrist can move. And as soon as I start squeezing, it goes like this. So it really messes things up with wrist control if that's the technique that you're trying to focus on. So for myself, I'm trying to focus on that wrist motion so I can get power. The sound quality is what I am after, as opposed to other techniques that might focus more on speed, like using more of like a finger French technique or even like a finger American technique, etc. So I am not focusing on that. I'm focusing on nice, relaxed, powerful strokes, so that way it can be heard from across the stadium or whatever it is that I'm performing with. Because most of my background is a drumline. Very rarely have I played like drum kit and whatnot. So when I'm playing this, the triangle fulcrum makes it so that it disperses the hold a little bit more, so I can focus less on the pressure and focus more on the wrist motion when I'm playing this. So if I curve this finger around, it's going to naturally move more towards this like front fulcrum rather than the triangle 3-part fulcrum. And so for me, I focus specifically on just letting this finger hang out. Another thing that you might consider when you're playing, whether it's traditional or with match grip, is what you do with your fingers can impact the tension along your hand. So if you are too tight with your fulcrum, in that you are like barely any gaps in between any of your fingers, whether it's with match grip or with traditional grip, if it's too tight, you can actually feel like different sorts of, you can feel different areas of tension along your arm. So for example, if I squeeze in right here, I'm feeling tension right here. I'm feeling it down here in the hand. If I pull my fingers too close right here, I'm feeling the tension down here. I'm feeling the tension up here in the wrist. As soon as I relax those and give more space in there, then it makes it so that my hand is more relaxed, my wrist can move more, and it makes it so the stick can vibrate more. If the stick is vibrating, so it's got that hum to it, that vibration sound, then that makes it so that the hand is not absorbing the sound as much as if you are playing in a way where you are choking off the sound quite literally. So if I relax my hand and let the stick vibrate within this space that I'm providing in my hand, then it's going to have a better sound quality than if I play at the same height and start to add more contact and more pressure onto the stick. My hand actually absorbs the sound rather than relaxing like this and allowing the physics, the energy transfer into the head, so that way the drum makes a louder sound. So for my technique, what I specifically focus on, which might be different from yours, and that's okay. I'm really focusing on playing relaxed so I can continue to drum at my age at 39, and loud. If I wanted to focus on other things, like playing with a faster speed than I currently can, I might focus more on finger more or other approaches to the technique. So because I wanted to continue to drum when I'm older, and because I wanted to have a loud sound when playing on drumline, that's one of the many reasons why I just have my fingers nice and relaxed, and we have this finger kind of hanging out over the edge of the stick like this, as opposed to pulling it in like this and having like a front part fulcrum. Now, I just want to clarify, I have played with a fulcrum at the front, and I have played with different types of techniques like traditional grip and multiple ways, whether it's on a flat drum or on a tilted drum, etc. So I've done many different approaches, and after experimenting with all of those, having performed sometimes several seasons other ways, I've landed on this technique because I feel like it better matches my goals with what I'm trying to do with my playing. There are many ways to play, and the more you study with more different kinds of people, the more you can learn, and the more you can actually teach if you actually are able to perform different ways. If you only learn one approach for your performing, then that is going to significantly negatively impact your abilities as an educator, because you can't find new ways to approach different context when you are performing. So if all you do is play rudimental, that might not matter to you. But if you teach percussion like I used to, well, then if you approach the snare drum rudimental the same way you approach a concert snare drum, the same way you approach a concert bass drum versus timpani versus like a vibraphone, etc., you're going to be very limited in your approach. So the more you study, the more you learn from different perspectives, the better your playing is going to be overall. And the better you can find a technique that matches your anatomy, because everybody's hands are going to be different. Some people are going to have injuries. Some people are going to have shorter fingers. Some people are going to have longer fingers, etc. And that's going to make it so you can be a better teacher, because if you can have that versatility with your own performing, when you're working with dozens or hundreds or thousands of students like I have, then you're going to need to be able to adjust things at the micro level, so at the individual level when working with students. Hopefully that answers the question that I got. It was a great question. Anyways, I've rambled a lot. Let's get into the RCC MORRISpree. Now that we are 7 hours into our stream. Just kidding, we're 15 minutes in. Woo! All right, so we're starting off at 70. I'm going to use this to warm up. As with all of the play-alongs, you just go into the timestamps in the description. You can jump to whatever BPM you want, and then it'll count you off. So we're going to do 70 to 74, then I'm going to stretch and massage, and then we're going to go from 75 up to who knows. Oh, and Sarah, your question on YouTube. Do I play squirrels with a gun? Yes, so the video that's titled This Game is Nuts is the squirrel with a gun highlight reel. You can find that under the gaming playlist. Came out last week. It was very goofy. Oops. Added an extra tap. Sorry, that was a bad rep. I'm sorry. It's okay. I get it. You can unsubscribe. Thank you for the likes on TikTok. Good morning, Roman. How you doing? It's interesting. The diddles after those accents on the last line were a little wonky. Much better from the accents into those low diddles on the last line. Sweet! Let's stretch and massage now. I highly recommend doing this to stay nice and relaxed, to be able to drum when you're my age. Hey! Stop! It didn't stop. Take your sticks. Pull in. Pull in. Push out. Oh, yeah. Spiritual Fox, it's been a while. How you been? And then rotate back out. If you do traditional, rotate and hold to one end of the rotation, and then rotate and hold to the other end of the rotation. Maybe 20, 30 seconds doing that, but I don't do that. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Enjoying playing through this. We're now stretching the underside of the forearms. You could do it like this. You could do this on the wall. The lower you go, the deeper your stretch. Ooh, that feels good, actually. I'm going to switch. It feels even better. Don't put all your weight into it. It's bad. Now we're going to stretch the top side. You could do it one at a time like this. You could do it right here. You could do it like this. But for here, the higher you go, the deeper the stretch. Again, don't put all your weight into it. Don't rip stuff. That's bad. And now we're going to stretch finger to finger. Thumb to thumb. Goes twice as fast this way. Stay nice and relaxed. Yeah. And now here. I really like this spree. This is a good one. Some interesting phrases in it. I look forward to it releasing publicly. But until then, you have the ability to play with this live stream VOD, as well as the one from a couple days ago, where we played from 40 to 70. So that way you can learn it this way, if you'd like to. Otherwise, if you don't want to hear me talking, you can just wait. I think it's like 3 more weeks. We're massaging now, up and down the forearm. I know some people love my voice and some people hate my voice. It's interesting how polar opposite some people are. So if you don't want to ever hear me, you don't have to. The play-alongs do not involve my voice at all. Other people have been like, I use your podcast to fall asleep. I was like, cool. I'm so glad the educational content in there was worth your time. All right, we're going to massage the thumb inside the palm, and then the back side is getting massaged by the fingers. Do. Calluses are a little rough. Too much video editing. Just, really does a number on my hands. That's a joke. It's from working out. I'm massaging base to tip of each one of the fingers at least 2 times. No ASMR? Okay. Oh, there we go. Enjoy. Oh, that one's tight. We're going to do it 3 times. Oh, that one's even tighter. We're going to do that one 4 times. And then we're going to resume 75 to 700. Almost lost my stick there. I don't know what happened with that Blam 5. I like second guessed what rhythm I was supposed to play on this first page. Sorry. Inconsistent diddles there. Yeah, so that diddle artist like, wait, it's supposed to be no, and then I played it too high. So sorry. I know. It's like 4 inches higher than it should have been. Unacceptable. I feel like there should be threes at the end. Something like that, without rushing that last left. Left off a tap after the backsticking. Able to recover there. We had in Academy, we had a phrase that was like that. So that's actually probably why I want to play that. We had a paradiddle diddle 3 3. So the pattern on each hand is basically 1 2 3. So 1 1 2 2 2 2 3. For the part that says, I've seen both sticking variations. Which one of the two do I prefer? The paradiddle diddle. That's the one I've been playing. Good question, though. But yeah, I've seen clips of both. It's fun, though, either way. But for me, the paradiddle diddle. all on one hand. Just a single stroke. There are some speeds where it's like you could use a single stroke for stuff like that, like some 4s. This is not one of those speeds. It wouldn't sound good, but, you know, it'd be fun. Probably get to like 110 today. Hello, Edward. Welcome back. Let's get some water. Stay hydrated. As somebody who's been hospitalized multiple times for dehydration, I recommend it. That's like the second time I press pause and then it doesn't. Go. Oops. I don't know what I was doing there. I was like, wait, what's the pattern again? Thinking. crush the right hand on the paradiddle. Oh no! Whoa! No. No. That's not how I do that. Yeah, so I started thinking about something else, and then it just totally screwed up that little backstick phrase. Whoopsies. Better. I'm trying to avoid the rim shots so I don't mess up my sticks. Yay! We're at 100 now, right? Wasn't really paying attention to the BPMs. Survey says yes. Triple digit. Ah, yeah. Excuse me. Started to play the uncorrected version of the backsticking part. Whoops. This is a corrected version. Man, talking really messed me up. Let me check something. If I do from 105 to there... Okay, yeah. So we'll go to 120. I forgot the visuals. My mind was elsewhere. Okay, we're gonna attempt 11 more reps. So 110 to 120. Which I know it sounds like that's 10, but that's not. We'll see how this goes. That's a great question. I'll answer it after I go through here. So let me play this up to 120, and then I'll answer that, what you're supposed to do. Sweet. Yeah, so I'll answer the question and pull up the sheet music so you can see specifically what phrases I'm talking about. But Lep, that's an excellent question about stick control. A few more reps. Yes, I'll answer that in a minute on Instagram. Normally I'd stop, but I want to treat this as a play-long VOD until this one comes out publicly, so people can practice this. No! We gotta do that again. Yes, what I'm saying is, like, I'm trying not to stop, so that way people can, like, use this as a practice video. So once I get to 120, then I'll answer those questions. Sorry. So I'm in my brain, I'm processing like how I'm gonna respond to like some of the questions, like the Instagram one in particular. And so I'm thinking about that instead of thinking about the playing, but I really need to just focus on this. Not your fault. Two more reps. Okay, so last rep, and then I'll answer Lup's question first, and then I'll answer the question on Instagram. Slow it down a little bit on the last part. Fired, unsub. So again, this one is currently members first. It's scheduled to release, but you can practice along with the live stream for this one from 70 to 120, and then the previous one from 40 to 70. So use that. Okay, so let's talk about stick control here. A lot of different variations on here. Okay. So when you're working on stick control, like let's say you got this phrase of right, 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 left, right, 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 left. There's a lot of students that I've seen when they're practicing it, they'll play with the way that I just demonstrated it. So they'll have a downstroke that stops with that single left hand. But what you want is a continuous fluid rebound, because the way you're going to practice this fast, if you are like really playing this like quickly as a line, you're not going to do downstrokes on those. Same thing with like the four strokes. You're not going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not like 8 on a hand. I'm like over exaggerating how a lot of students will play it. You want to have fluid motions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. When you're practicing these slow, like this is currently set to 82, have continuous motion in your hand. So that way it'll mimic the kind of fluid motion you want when you're playing fast, but you're just reinforcing it while practicing it slow. So your stick control should be just constant motion, just constantly coming up and down. It looks a little weird, especially when you go slow. And you're playing through this and you play this isolated notes or 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. But if you do that, I promise you it's going to pay off when you actually start to slowly speed it up, like with these play-alongs, going one click at a time. So when you get to the fours and you're playing it fast, you're not going to go like that, like all downstrokes. So you want to have that continuous motion. So hopefully, Lup, that answers your question with that. But let's move this so I can see all of that on Instagram. So slice on the snare drum. Okay, so if you are slicing, do heights matter? Yeah, so the most motion that you want to go up to is the starting height of whatever you're playing at. So if you're playing this like at 6 inches or something for the float, you're not gonna go like that. So the float will always match whatever the starting position is. So if you're playing this at like 6, the float is gonna be low. It's going to be the same way that you want to play it when you're playing through it fast. Because with stick control, you're trying to get that like balance with the hands, make it sound nice and even. You don't want to have like unless you're like marching on like, I don't know, pipe drums or something, and you've got that really like floaty old school super molar technique, or you have like the drums where it's like resting in your shoulder like this, then maybe you'll have higher than it. But when you're practicing stick control, just go wherever the starting height is without doing that. Good question. Why is it not switching? Switch. There we go. Okay, so if you're slicing on snare drum, there's a couple ways that you can work on this. So like if your left hand is like going like this, a slice is where it's like going at an angle as opposed to straight up and down. So you can practice playing through stuff by taking your stick and kind of putting it towards the bass. So that way when you move up and down, it doesn't like completely go away and then get stuck behind the stick if you're slicing. But if you have a slice where you're going to the inside like this, going toward your body, put your stick on the inside of it and practice going straight up and down this way. You can practice like grid variations like accent tap. There's like 900 of them on my channel. But when you practice it, you can practice moving straight up and down. Just play the whole thing on one hand. If you have a slice where you're going to the outside, you can just move your stick to the outside like this and then get used to this. And again, just get used to that straight up and down motion. Go slow with this and practice so that you are not pushing into it, but just using this as like a gentle guide going up and down. It should like gently touch it. Just make sure when you're doing this that you're not reinforcing the slice by like getting lazy with this and accidentally having the angle like that or like this, so then you accidentally reinforce the slice. So this has to be straight up and down. If you want to get super OCD with it, like I did when I marched, is I built like this plexiglass thing that would sit in my pad, and it had plexiglass on the outside and the inside of the sticks, so that my sticks had enough room to go straight up and down inside of that plexiglass without hitting the side of it. And the plexiglass was very high because, you know, stick height, it's got to be higher than it so it doesn't go out of it. And that's how I worked on my angles and whatnot to make sure that I wasn't playing with like a terrible slice. So those are some ways that you can work on slice, just using your stick or using like plexiglass, etc. while doing this. Another thing is if you want to, you can just like record yourself with the camera like right above you so you can see like, am I going like this or am I going straight up and down? Another thing you can do if you don't have a camera that's above you is you can do a camera in front of you, and you can just line up your stick like this and go, am I slicing to the outside or am I slicing to the inside when I'm playing this? And instead you want to be able to have your stick going up and down with like a camera or a mirror if you're able to kind of like practice in front of that. They sell products like that? That's interesting. Well, I invented it apparently in the early 2000s. Yeah, that's cool. Does working on the pad while sitting down affect how you play standing up? Okay, so if you're practicing on a drum pad, actually, we'll go with this. If you're practicing on a drum pad, depending on the height of the drum pad, it can have a weird impact on your playing. So one of the things that I've seen is like some students, they might have like a drum pad resting on something, and then they're actually playing above where they would normally want to be. So their like arm is at an upward slope as opposed to being like parallel with the drum. And that can create some issues with your playing. Same thing if it's like too low. Like if it's like, if I stood up normally and played like snare drum like this is too low for traditional grip. So we've got this downward angle as opposed to making it parallel. Another thing that can be an issue with practicing on pads, like if you play match grip on pads, is like sometimes you'll like kind of get this like flared out, like you want to go bro, kind of like approach with your like playing. So you don't want to do that. So practicing on a pad sitting down can be an issue if you're playing in a way that does not match how you would on the actual drum. But if you are sitting there and practicing and it's not affecting your hands and not affecting the angle of your forearms, your wrists, etc., then in general, like it's okay. It's better to be able to stand up and practice, because then you can mark time while doing it and actually like really simulate however it is you are playing in like the lot or whatever. But like I've had so many hours like on the bus just like practicing stuff, and it's not like it like ruined my playing as soon as I got off the bus and like got on a drum and I was like, oh no, I don't know how to play again. Like it's just, you got to make sure that you are playing as similar as you can on and off an actual drum and pad. So like sometimes I'll see clips of like younger drummers like on various social media platforms, and they're playing through stuff, and they've got like a pad in their lap, and it's just like super high. And so people will give comments like, hey, you should really stand while you're doing this. And it's like, that's what it's referring to, as opposed to just like the fact that you're sitting. Or if you have like a weird like posture while you're sitting like hunched over, like Quasimodo or something. Is the drum height you're playing at okay for traditional? No. So the drum height that I'm using right now is too low for traditional grip. So with traditional, you want to have this parallel. If I was playing on a tilt, then it would be like this, and it could be okay. But for traditional, this is too low. So this is here. So for my playing, like when I'm playing concert snare, I like to have a tilt on my drum so I can get even more power behind it and whatnot. But when I'm playing on a flat drum like this, I want to have my shoulders nice and relaxed and not have like a flare out with my arms. So I play lower than some people do, but it's so I can get more power behind it while keeping my upper body nice and relaxed. A lot of people will play with like parallel or close to parallel, but for me, playing with a little bit lower feels more comfortable, but everybody's anatomy is going to be different. So it messed up my technique. Been playing on a pad on my lap. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, that's not good, but it happens. Molar's not a bad thing. I mean, modified molar, like I use that all the time when I'm playing. I'm not like a strictly like wrist at like the cost of not using your forearm. I was taught that way for multiple years, like to play without moving the forearm at all. But then when I learned molar, like I got so much power and just like so much more relaxed out of it. But anyways, yeah, good questions. If y'all are interested in like the play-alongs that we got, there's over 1,000 of them. You can find them on TubeView if you just go to the home tab and then you scroll to the drumming content. We also do gaming. Sarah, you were asking earlier about Scroll with a Gun. That one right there is the image for it. There's like 3 of them. It's currently cycling through. But if you find a scroll with one of 3 different types of guns, this one is the one that you were asking about, whether I played that game. And the answer is yes. But anyways, so the drumming stuff, if you click on this has all the 1,000 of play-alongs in here. Organized into playlists. The very first video on each one of the playlists gives you a 1 or 2 minute overview of each one of the videos, or rather the collection of videos in that playlist. So like this one is specific for the technique one, the chop one is specific to that. But if you want to find everything organized much neater, just go to the link at the top of the videos. More drumming playlist, this one. That takes you here. There's 55 chop exercises, over 900 grid variations. There's 55 drum charts. There's a bunch of marching bass stuff. By the end of this week, there will be over 200 technique exercises. I'm currently working on those. And then all of the drumming tips, like when I answer questions like I was just doing, I'll put them edited in here. Or the full drum streams with like timestamps showing what I talked about or what I was working on. You can find that in here. But all this stuff is free. The members' first ones are coming out soon. Can you suggest a snare drum groove? Oh, can I suggest a snare drum groove for I&E? I'll have to think about that. Not off the top of my head. But you're welcome for the answers. Good questions. Anyways, if you like this content, just share it with somebody else. It's free. There's over 200 members' videos, but again, they're all coming out for free. I'm just that far ahead, so if you want early access, you can get it. Or you can just wait. I'm going to call it here. I'm going to get ready for some Hogwarts Legacy. We went a little long on this stream, but that's okay. Would it be difficult to switch from snare to bass? Yes and no, for different reasons. So like bass, you're obviously going to have different techniques. Not like you're going to play traditional while doing that. But timing wise, like you're just working on different stuff. So with snare drum, you're working on constant flow of notes, like you're playing like all 10 of them. But with With like bass drum, it's going to be very different, where it'll be like, you're going to play like these notes or just that note, or you're going to play every other, like it gets weird. But the marching bass stuff, if you want to work on bass, my favorite one, oops, you can't see this, is splits timing. So this one, every single one of these play alongs in here, it has a similar pattern of first line is both parts audible. Second line mutes the second part, or the second phrase rather, mutes the second part, so drum 2. And then the third phrase, it mutes the first part. So when you're playing this, you can hear both parts while you're going dugga, 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 and then etc. And then it'll hear only but up, and then it'll hear rest, but up, rest, but up, rest, but up. So this is a great way that you can work on splits. This whole playlist is designed to practice without anybody in the room with you. If you can play through these, like this will set you up to work on that. The permutations are also good, but it plays through every one of the parts the entire time. But yeah, check out splits timing in particular, two drums. That's how you can practice bass drum without having somebody else to practice with. I should probably add more split stuff in here, but anyways. Yeah, so that answers your questions. Just use the splits timing ones. That's how you can practice without a friend. All by yourself. But anyways, I'm going to call it here. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you enjoy this stuff, just share it with somebody. But anyways, I'm out. Goodbye.